Welcome to the scorching arena of valor and the crucible of courage. This is the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Here, in the inferno of life's greatest challenges, heroes are shaped and legends are born. Every episode is a torchlight of wisdom, casting a glow on the paths walked by those who've braved the flames and emerged stronger. In this furnace of fortitude, we'll explore tales of resilience, bravery, and the unyielding human spirit. Each guest brings their own spark of insight, lighting up the darkness and guiding us through the smoke of adversity. With Fireman Rob at the helm, prepared to delve into conversations that smolder with significance and stories that kindle the soul. It's not just a podcast, it's a beacon for all who seek to rise from the ashes and glow with purpose. So stoke the fires of your curiosity and ready your heart for tales of triumph and transformation. The flames are roaring. The stage is ablaze. Welcome to the Forged in the Fires podcast. Let the journey begin.
All right, welcome back to the Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today's guest, you will never guess the transition that he made in his life from, okay, let me just start this out. You know, he's a great man. He's figured out different things. He's a published author. He's a professor of wellness at Elon University. But wait, there's more. You know what? Let's just get into it. I'm not going to tell them the secret. I want you to tell them, Bob. All right, Bob Martin, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I read your bio, I'm like, this is a guy I want to have on because that what he's done in life, his experiences, and then where he is now it's amazing. I can only imagine the stories that we're going to hear. You were a high-powered mob lawyer during the crazy days in Miami, the Cocaine Cowboy days, they called. How did you... So you went to, where'd you go to law school?
Nova University for the Center for the Study of Law, Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. And when you were going through college for law, are you like, you know what I want to do? Was this the plan?
You know, I this is going to blow your mind, but I never intended to be a lawyer. That wasn't my intention. I grew up in amusement parks. Cotton candy and popcorn was my dad's path to the American dream.
No kidding.
Well, that's a whole nother story about how they found that in 1932. But my ambition in life was to sell enough hot dogs in the summer so I wouldn't have to work in the winter.
I love that dream. Is it still a reality?
Well, it would have been at the time, but so I flunked out of Boston University, and I'm living. I was a jock, then I became a hippie because it was 1969, and I was living in this apartment, which was a hippy dippy apartment, and nobody ever knew who was going to be there that evening, or frankly, who was going to be with who that evening. I mean, it was just one of those things. And there was this little mousy guy named John Berman who was a heroin addict, but every once in a while when he was clean, he'd be hanging out with us. And he kept saying to me, you need to be a lawyer. You need to be a lawyer. Because we were arguing over Nixon and Watergate and Vietnam and all that. I was always arguing. Yeah. You should be a lawyer. So one day John disappears and we figured he probably was going out and getting high again. And but he didn't. He went out and got a job. And he came back with a money order made out to the Educational Testing Service for $350, which was the price of the admission to the law school aptitude test.
What?
And he said, you should be a lawyer. You should go take this test. So I took the test and I did mediocre. And there was one law school who was just starting up, hadn't even been certified yet. And I had a very mediocre, college career. I finished up after I got flunked out of Boston, and they took a chance on me. So here we are, a bunch of second-rate law students, because who is going to go and sign up to an uncertified hoping that it will be certified by the time you graduate law school. And we're all sitting around in the common room, and we were going around saying, well, what kind of lawyer do you want to be? What kind of lawyer do you want to be? And when it got to me, I just said, I want to be a judge. And I didn't have any idea what I was talking about, but when that word came out of my mouth, something happened to me inside. And all of a sudden, life got serious because I realized all of a sudden that I had the potential of really making a difference.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, it was, balls to the wall. And, I was 100% in, wound up Dean's List.
Wow.
And got hired by the Miami-Dade district attorney, who we call him state's attorney, but was Janet Reno.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. She eventually became the AG, the Attorney General for the Clinton administration, and is known for that terrible shootout that she was involved in. But she was a wonderful, terrific boss. 6'5", 230 pounds, a pioneer woman from the day go, but as ethical and as honest as you could cut.
Yeah.
She was terrific. Anyway, I rose in the office and got to economic crimes. And in those days, we're talking about the days of Scarface, the days of Miami Vice. And although those are all fiction, the vibe that they hit of Miami at that time was really, really accurate. And the Colombians were talking to the Italians, we're talking to the Cubans, we're talking to the Haitians, we're talking to the Peruvians. At that level, they all had their different trade routes,
Yeah.
And they wanted to make sure they didn't interfere with each other's business. So we hit this conglomerate of folks for $70 million. Wow. And so that was a big win. And I kind of left the DA's office after that and hung my shingle out. And it was shortly thereafter that Johnny, the Italian side of the Gambino family, Miami side of the Gambino family, came to see me. And he walked straight into my office and sat down and scared the bejesus out of me. Really.
Can't imagine.
I knew who he was, because we had had the cases against him, not criminal cases, civil cases, but and we sat there in silence, just kind of eyeing each other for a while, and finally he goes, you hit us for a lot of money. Yes, sir. You got to be good to do that. We want to send you some clients.
Wow. That had to be just staggering, just sitting there going, all right, so me taking money from you was a good job interview?
Yeah. But, we had to have some arrangements. And, from my time in the amusement parks in New York, New York's a funny place because, families, and one guy's a cop and the other guy's a fireman and the other guy's a mobster. Yeah. 3 sons, That's just New York. So I had my brushing acquaintances, let's say, with some of these shady characters. So I had a little sense of, the ethic of that world. And the ethic is pretty much you shoot straight, you say what's so, you promise what you can deliver. And if you can't, you go immediately and say, I couldn't do it. And why? And you just, that was Johnny's definition of integrity. He says, Bob, just stay in integrity. I said, well, what do you mean by integrity? He says, you do what you say you're going to do, or you say you didn't do it.
That's a good lesson, though. I mean,
it was a good one.
Yeah, it's like you listen to it from a mob guy, but at the same point, it's like, that's actually a life lesson. You'd think like Simon Sinek or Tony Robbins would say that. It's a little stronger coming from Johnny.
Right. So we worked together real well. And I the deal was nothing unethical, nothing illegal. And that worked up until the time for about 7 years until his son got arrested. And when his son got arrested, he says, look, I know we have an agreement, but you got to win this case. You got to do whatever you got to do to win this case. And so he wanted me to do things I wasn't going to do. And I happened to be driving my ex-wife up to her visitor folks in New York, and we passed through North Carolina, and the azaleas were out, and the dogwoods were blooming. It was just gorgeous. I said, let's move here. I went back and told Johnny I was going to move to North Carolina, and he nodded his head because he understood.
Yep.
And he said, okay, well, that way we can part friends. And we shook hands and never heard from him again.
That's crazy. Never heard. What was it like? Did you have any apprehensions when you were in there? Like, I mean, I love the integrity part because that just makes sense. It's straightforward. There's no like hidden agendas.
Yeah.
Did you have any like premonitions while you were in there that you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, or was it just pretty much straightforward?
It was pretty. I didn't see Johnny except socially.
Okay.
The way it worked, there would just people be coming to my office with $9,000 in cash.
They just went to the ATM and just got that, right?
Right. And it had to be under 10,000 because $10,000 in cash, you got to report it to the feds.
Hey, integrity.
Right. But so there's a little sub story here, and I know that you want to get to like how does this transformation from that world come about. So it's an exciting world, and like I said, I only saw Johnny and his kin, his folks, socially, but I saw him a lot socially, and it was the Cocaine Cowboy days, and I'll just leave it saying that my behaviors were a bit excessive.
Asterisks.
And so there was some alcohol use in my wife's family and some craziness over there, and it was hard to handle. So I just put more and more into my work and less at home, and things were falling apart there, and my kids were getting neglected. Not neglected in the legal sense, but they were getting not cared for appropriately. I wasn't spending enough time with them, and things were starting to erupt. My daughter was beginning to show signs of anorexia, and it was falling apart. And professionally, I'm on top of the world, and nasally, I think I'm the best, most strong person. I'm arrogant and I'm invulnerable.
Yeah.
I can't lose. And it does things to your mind. And so I go to see a therapist, and I come to an important crossroads in my life. And this guy pulls out some coins, and he starts throwing the coins on the desk and like reading the coins and writing stuff and making lines on a piece of paper. And I'm thinking, what the F? What's he doing? My therapist is now a soothsayer. He's a tarot
He's getting the Ouija board out.
Yeah. So finally he draws a number, and he opens up this book to that chapter number, and he shows it to me. And the title of the chapter is Retreat. And I curse him out and stomp out, but it was the right advice. And it was like tattooed on my forehead. And I realized that's what I had to do. So I shut down some of the access I had to, I was spending money and investing in things and starting new business, and it was just bleeding me dry. And I stopped at all that. And I went back to see him, and I go, what was that? What did you do? I mean, I really liked the guy. He was really a great therapist.
Yeah.
But, what was that? And he goes, well, that was the I Ching. I said, the what? He goes, the I Ching. What's that? He goes, it's the classical book of changes. Where's that from? He says, it's from Taoism. I said, what's Taoism? He says, it's like a sister of Buddhism. What? I didn't grow up in a religious family at all, not Christian, not anything. And I said, well, what's going on? And he says, well, see this book here that I'm working on? I am the English language editor for Master Watching Ni. He's a 72nd generation Taoist master from the Shaolin Temple.
72nd
Generation.
Wow.
Yeah. Father to son, 72 times. The wisdom got handed down. So Master Nee was coming to Miami the next week, and I met this guy, and you know, sometimes you just meet somebody and you go, this guy knows he's got it. It's just the energy he had. He didn't talk much. He giggled a lot, and
awesome.
chuckled. He giggled and chuckled a lot. And he was 76 years old when I met him, and he was as supple as a baby. He could sit on his heels for hours.
Wow.
He was just amazing because he did Tai Chi, and he did all those movements and things like that. So I studied under Master Nee for like 5 or 6 years. And just when I was starting to internally he broke me apart inside. It's like like with Tai Chi one time where he's teaching us Tai Chi, and it was Miami's hot, it was a hot room, and I'm sweating, and he comes and he goes, first you'll sweat on outside, later you'll sweat on inside.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so just as he was beginning to put me back together and I started to really get it, and I was getting it, that's when the thing with Johnny happened, and I moved to North Carolina.
Oh.
So here I am, a transformed human being, in effect, going to a completely new place in a new culture, certainly culture shock, but it was like a blank canvas that I could rewrite my life. And who gets an opportunity like that? I mean, it was so rare, so blessed.
That's it's amazing. But then you also lost your mentor who helped you to get there.
I did. But I had his books, and we stayed in touch, and he had given me what I needed to have. Now there's not a lot of Taoists in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But there are Buddhists.
Really?
There are Buddhists. And so I started attending Buddhist services, and that's where I picked up meditation, because Taoism really isn't big into meditation.
I love the Taoist wisdom, like the brain science, psychology, and humor, and how that kind of goes into breaking those limited beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? How can people apply that without getting to the level that you did? How can people apply that to their limit? I think there's so many limited beliefs nowadays because everybody looks at everybody else as successful and looks at themselves as, I can never get there, or I don't want to do that. I don't think I can do that. Or nobody's ever done that before. How does that apply to that limited beliefs, like that humor and the psychology?
What's her name? Sister who was sainted. She said a couple of things. She said, you can't fix the whole world, but you can fix your little corner of it.
Huh. I love that.
It says you can't feed the whole world, but you can feed your neighbor. And so, it's you look at, and it's also, I think, a question of what really is success. I mean, I know an awful lot of people who, are paycheck to paycheck and are extremely happy. I know a lot of really rich people that are very, very unhappy.
Yeah.
So, how do you define success and how do you define what you have? But I'll say this, without getting into all of what meditation does for you and what it is and what it's not, because there's a lot of misconceptions around what meditation is. Let me just say that a lot of people think that meditation is about quieting the mind, and it is not. Meditation is about learning how to skillfully manage your thoughts.
I love that.
So it's a whole different thing. It's a very active process where you're doing something. You're not just sitting, with an empty mind. People say, I can't do that. I can't quiet my mind. Well, no, you can't. There's reasons why you can't. The reason you can't quiet your mind is because our mind was evolved in the jungle under 1,790,000 generations of being hunter-gatherers. So we're always scanning for danger. And when our mind wanders, it's just that survival mechanism that is ingrained. It's baked into us to be scanning and wandering and looking for danger.
Right.
And in today's world, danger isn't a cobra or a tiger anymore. It's a deadline. It's
Yes.
it's having to do overtime when you had other plans with your wife. It's, what you said to that guy yesterday and whether you left the stove on and are going to pick your kids up on time. And those things do the exact same thing to you physiologically that seeing a snake will do.
Yeah.
And we call it stress. But what it really is chronic, undifferentiated danger.
Huh. I've been thinking about this for weeks or months on end. Because I've been talking about the fear that used to be, like, fear drove us to survive, like you were talking about before. And now fear drives us to not act and do stuff. And it's exactly what you're talking about, but that's a great way of putting it, of that from that danger side of it. It's like, it's something that you choose, not something that's given to you, or in essence, something that happens to you. You're choosing to make that decision.
Choosing to make the decision
that it's a danger, that it's something that's
it is. I mean, if you have a deadline and you're a fireman and you have shifts, you have plans with your family, and they're really depending on you, and then you get called in. It's hard.
Yeah.
And it may not be specifically a danger, but the thing is that it stimulates the right prefrontal cortex, which causes the adrenaline glands to let go, which causes cortisol to seep into your body. And then that cortisol used to be sucked up by the fight or the flight.
Yeah.
But we don't fight or fly anymore. We just sit with it.
Right.
And it just builds up. And cortisol actually is like corrosive to the seething of your nerves.
Wow.
And the more cortisol remains in your body, the more edgy you get.
Huh.
Because we're not designed. We're designed for a simple, hunter-gatherer life. A lot of physical activity, very low density foods. And then at night, you get to sit around the fire and look up at the stars and make up stories. That's where the other side of your brain gets stimulated, the left side. That's the creative connection, rest and digest section. And the problem these days is that, and I am getting to the answer to your question. I'm getting there.
No, I like all these other answers.
The problem is that there is so much in the world today that stimulates the right side. You could take a brain picture, and if that right side is glowing and that left side is blue, you could predict with uncanny certainty that person is going to be cynical, judgmental, negative, pessimistic, see the glass is half full. You can predict it. If, on the other hand, the left side is glowing, then you could predict the person's going to be optimistic, see the glass is half full, be cheerful, be connected, feel spiritual, have that sense of being together with the world. All of those things come from the left side. And both of these things are vitally important because we need to connect with people. That's how tribes are formed and progress is made. And in order to survive, we are tribal group animals.
Yeah.
And we're not soloists. But if we were all over there, it would all be ya kumbaya, tree hugging, and nothing would ever get done. You got to have the stress, which makes you get up and move your ass.
Yeah.
Right. So
totally.
Right. So you need both sides. They need to be in balance. So the answer to your question, what can people do? Curate your environment. Put beautiful things around your workspace. Keep your house a little tidy. You don't have to be meticulous, but just keep it a little tidy so that it gives you a sense of space and openness, and it's not all cluttered. The cluttered space, gives you a cluttered mind. Go out and look at sunsets and sunrises. these days, the good people at the Greater Good Science Center in Berkeley are studying awe. And they're beginning to form the idea that awe is really the positive side of PTSD.
Really?
Yeah, like PTSD immediately changes your brain. It rewires your brain, but so does awe.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah. So you can actually cultivate awe. Like people say, well, awe is a very special thing. It only happens every once in a while. Well, not for me, and I'm not bragging, but I read the research and I started going. Now I get up every morning. I take my dogs out to the field next door, and I got a sitting place there, and I watch them play, and I'm in awe of their playing together. I love them so much. And then the sun comes up, and I see the sky change, and I say a certain mantra to myself, talking about the fact that this is a new day. And that I'm trading the day of my life for it, and that I better leave something good in it because that's all that's going to be there for me. And and I stimulate and cultivate that sense of awe and this crazy idea that I have a whole new day ahead of me. You do that for a little while, all of a sudden you start feeling awe at sappy movies, and you start feeling awed, little babies who pick up a blade of grass and look at it with curiosity,
Yeah.
And bring awe into your life, but not even just beauty, and stimulate, take the time to treat yourself to happy feelings, do things that you like doing, and that balances off your head, and it makes you it rises in you a tolerance for discomfort. Because we can't think that life is not going to be painful.
Right.
There's a lot of pain in life. There's no getting around it, period. How you deal with it is the trick. And just like a person, just like pain, a regular pain, somebody that has a high tolerance to pain can go in and get their COVID shot, they go, oh, thanks, doc.
Yeah.
Somebody that has a very low tolerance to pain, it's a big deal, and it's all.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with mental pain. You can build a tolerance to pain, to mental pain and suffering. And that makes you more likely to go out and try new things. And then you find more beauty and you find more awe. And so
the philosophy of it is so staggering, because in my mind, which doesn't work well, but it's still in my mind, I'm thinking about what you were saying, especially like when you're talking about the right side and the cortisol that's injected with the stress.
Mm-hmm.
And having dealt with PTSD, depression, anxiety for a multitude of years, I developed that tolerance for discomfort, but then at the same point, I didn't find that awe. I was struggling to find that awe. So there was not that, it was just that constant, like the anger that you were talking about. It's so, it so fits so well. Mm-hmm. How do you suggest somebody, because coming out of your mouth too is fantastic, because it's different than coming out of somebody who has not lived life. Because it is. I mean, just from my career field, we'd be like, oh yeah, go find awe. Okay, sounds good. but it's so powerful coming from you. How would you suggest somebody start with that, finding awe in their life? Because I think a lot of people are scared of like, well, okay, I'll go look at a kid watching blade of grass. How do you start that?
Right. Well, I'm gonna as I'm talking here, I'm looking for something that I want a name I want to give you, but you start with simple things. I mean, on my desk, I have a couple little porcelain Tai Chi men. I really like them a lot. I have a picture of I have this little stupid red wooden bird that I picked up and that I really enjoyed. There's a little jar that I picked up at a farmer's market that brings back some good memories. So you just start small by as I say, curate your environment. Look around your environment and say, what's here that displeases me and what here pleases me and is beautiful.
Yeah.
And just put those things in your life. That's a great, or just simply be intentional about the idea that you want
Yeah.
to put beauty into your life.
That's huge.
People have to start where they're at. And it may be difficult for people. It may be difficult for people to actually think about, how am I going to put beauty to my life? And then all of a sudden, it seems like it's overwhelming. So take a step back. Say, form the intention to bring beauty into your life.
Yeah.
And mention that to yourself once in a while. I really do want to bring beauty into my life. And eventually, when you tell your brain that there's something that you want to do, it's funny, but it will start reminding you. It will start going like, psst, psst, hey, don't you remember? You said you wanted to bring beauty into your life. And eventually it'll remind you enough that you'll do something, and then you'll do something else. And, paso por paso, as they say in Spanish, step by step.
I love that. I love that, man. Bob, there's so many nuggets of gold that you're giving me here. Make sure you go to awiseandhappylife.com. You can find out more about the great things that Bob has, as well as the meditation portions and your books. But I mean, the things that you're telling me, it's so funny because I take them to heart, because it makes sense. But it's always those small steps to start off with, kind of like what you did when you're down in Miami.
Jason Silva, Jason, Jason Silva, Silva.
Okay.
Go to YouTube and follow this guy.
Okay.
He does a video on beauty. He does a video on awe. He does dozens of videos. This guy is my hero. He's my hero. I love, and on all my classes, when I teach meditation on campus, when I teach it online, I always show his videos because he nails it. He just nails it.
Oh, I love it.
And it's amazing. Jason Silva. So see him, and of course, go to my website.
Of course.
And then maybe some other time we could get together and have a conversation about what meditation is and what it's not. Let me just give you a little Reader's Digest sample of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that meditation is about maintaining focus, being able to concentrate, or where am I? Excuse me. There we are. Being able to concentrate. Sorry about that. Being able to concentrate or maintain your focus, and it's not. They think it's about training yourself to stay in focus. It's not about that, because the moment you try, your mind is going to go crazy, and that's normal and it's typical. But at some point, because it was your intention, just as I mentioned, it was your intention to pay attention to the candle. Your mind will go, psst, hey, you're not paying attention to the candle. Just like when you're listening to somebody and your mind wanders,
right.
Psst, hey, you're not listening to them, right? And you kind of wake up. Oh shit, man, I got to go back and listen to them. But then you get all these judgments. So your mind wanders, but at some point your mind reminds you that you wanted to pay attention to the candle. Then there's this whole flood of judgments and all this stuff that happens. But then the trick is you go back and you put your attention back on the candle again. You begin again. Begin again. Then your mind wanders. You notice it comes back. You begin again. It wanders. You notice you come back. You begin again. It wanders. You notice it comes back. You begin again. It's the coming back and the beginning again that builds your mental strength.
Huh. Yeah.
So it's not about maintaining focus. It's about beginning again. Every time you begin again, you're building that sense of self-efficacy that, hey, I can do this. I can get back up on the saddle and neurologically, neurons that wire together, and you're forming a neural pathway that says, I can get up and do it. I can get up and go again. I can get up and go again. I'm beginning again. And so you build mental strength and tolerance to discomfort. And there's all kinds of, people have been figuring out how to do this for 4,000 years. So we got a lot of good information, I promise.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not just something you came up with yesterday.
Yeah, right.
Bob, make sure everybody goes to awiseandhappylife.com.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, you can't leave me yet. I got 3 questions for you. You ready for those?
Gotcha.
All right. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be? I want to hear this.
Get off your pedestal.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one.
You're going to live. It's going to be hard, and then you're going to die. Make the most of it.
Yeah, I like that. All right. The second one is everybody goes through challenges and struggles in their day. If you could give them 2 tips to incorporate into their daily routine that would help them to continue to move forward, to continue to push forward to their better self or to their self that they want to be, what would those 2 tips be?
The first one is that you're not your thoughts. You are the creator of your thoughts. You need to get back in touch with that person. That person has all of the wisdom of the universe. You're so much more than your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is get a dog.
I should have known you'd have some. I love this. All right, this last one's going to be fun. So if you could have coffee at a firehouse table, so in other words, no questions are off the table. They're always answered. With 3 people, they can be deceased or alive. Who are these 3 people going to be? It's always...
I think it would be the Buddha and Jesus. I'd love to get them together in a conversation because they're all taught the same thing. And I think Judge Gerald Kogan, who was my mentor and really had it all together.
So he'll mediate.
Yeah, he'll mediate.
I love it. Bob, it's been such an honor to have you on. I love the stories. I love the wisdom. And I keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, putting together a podcast, having a platform, let people like me come and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of work. So thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And please share this episode with a friend or family member. To find out more about Fireman Rob, or if you have a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.